I thought you'd be somebody by now. Still a secretary? Her voice sliced through the clatter of champagne glasses and fake laughter. My Aunt Diane, dressed head to toe in maroon silk, with pearls that matched her smugness, let the insult hang in the air like perfume sprayed too thick. Everyone at the family reunion turned. My cousin's new fiancé actually snorted. I smiled. My name is Ava Morgan, and from wherever you're watching this, stay with me. Have you ever had someone look you in the eye and erase every ounce of your worth with a single sentence? That was Diane's gift. She didn't just judge, she performed it. She stood there with her drink raised, like her words were a toast. You had potential, Ava. What happened? A smart girl like you, stuck taking coffee orders? Shame. The worst part? No one said anything. Not my mother. Not even my sister. Just a chorus of tight-lipped smiles and shifted glances, like I should take it with grace. But grace is a language the powerful use to keep you quiet. I looked Diane dead in the eye and said, better a secretary than a sellout. She laughed, that hollow, rich people laugh. Oh, honey, when you grow up, you'll understand how the world really works. I left early. No goodbye hugs. No fake promises to catch up. Because the next day, the same woman who mocked me was sitting across a polished mahogany boardroom table, clutching a $500 million deal folder, with my name printed across the top. Not as secretary, as CEO. And the look on her face? That was the real reunion. She didn't recognize me at first. Aunt Diane walked in, dragging her beige Louis Vuitton briefcase, her stilettos tapping out a melody of entitlement. She was mid-sentence when she saw the nameplate. Ava Morgan, Chief Executive Officer. I didn't stand. I didn't flinch. I just looked at her like she'd looked at me the night before. Is this some kind of joke? She asked, voice brittle. My assistant, Mia, stepped forward. Ms. Morgan will be reviewing the contract personally. You're here to present the final terms. Diane's face cracked. Her eyes darted from me to the window, like an escape hatch would appear if she stared hard enough. The others from her firm shuffled into the room, unaware of the storm brewing at the head of the table. I flipped through the folder slowly, deliberately. Every page reeked of desperation masked as confidence, a $500 million merger that would save her collapsing brand. She had no idea I was the one who'd recommended the audit 6 months ago. She had no idea I'd watched her crumble through numbers and lies. And she sure as hell didn't know that I was the investor who'd anonymously pulled out the final thread. But today I wanted her to see it. Every stitch of her illusion unraveling, in high def, under boardroom lighting. You've come far, Diane managed. I tilted my head. Far from the secretary's desk, you mean? She tried to laugh. It was a joke, Ava. I leaned forward. So, is this deal, if you think I'm signing it without bleeding you dry first? Silence. She swallowed. What do you want? I smiled. Oh, Diane. I want you to earn what you begged me to become. And just like that, her power shifted. It didn't crumble. It transferred. Right into my hands. Diane sat stiff, her French manicured fingers laced together like she was in a church pew. But this wasn't a prayer. This was a reckoning. I slid the contract toward her. Clause 42. Read it aloud. She hesitated. I didn't blink. Her voice cracked, barely above a whisper. Primary beneficiary shall retain full equity control post-merger, including veto rights over all subsidiary board decisions. Translation? She'd hand over everything. One of her partners, a younger guy in a navy suit, leaned in. Wait, Diane, are you seriously agreeing to this? This isn't what we discussed. She turned ghost white. Gentlemen, I said calmly, you may want to ask your lead negotiator why she didn't read the updated terms last week. They were sent at 9:04 a.m. Monday. Time-stamped. Digital signature required. Their eyes turned to her like wolves. One of them muttered, Jesus Christ, Diane? I stood, walked slowly to the projector. Clicked. A slide appeared. Morgan Holdings, acquisition path, how we quietly took over the empire. Next slide. A picture of me, smiling, mid-speech, in front of the very company Diane thought she built alone. You see, I wasn't just in the rooms. I owned the walls. She whispered, "Why didn't you ever say anything?" I looked her dead in the eye. Because when women like me speak too early, women like you make sure no one hears them. She looked down. Not in shame, in loss. The kind of loss that doesn't scream, just sinks. I leaned in. You called me a secretary, like it was a curse. You should have remembered. Every empire needs one to run it before it learns how to own it. No one spoke. I walked out without signing. Left her to stew in the silence she used to weaponize. But I wasn't done. Oh no. I was just getting warmed up. That night, I sent the email. Subject line, offer revision. Final decision pending. To Diane Whitaker plus partners. CC Legal. BC my mother. Because sometimes revenge deserves an audience. The message was short. Surgical. We are reconsidering the merger on grounds of leadership instability and unresolved internal liabilities. Further due diligence is being conducted. Translation? I just called her company a sinking ship and told the sharks where to circle. The next morning, my phone buzzed like a wasp's nest. Missed calls, voicemails, desperate texts from her assistant trying to clarify Diane's position. By noon, the whispers started online. Whitaker Corp leadership in question. CEO may lose board confidence. Stocks dipped, then dropped, then plummeted. By 3 p.m., Diane called me directly. She didn't sound like Diane anymore. No pearls in her voice. No hauteur. Just a raw, desperate woman clinging to the edge. Ava, we can talk. Please. I know I was out of line at the reunion. That was personal. It shouldn't affect business. I let the silence chew on her for a few seconds. Then I said, "Exactly. So, why did you make it personal?" "I didn't know who you were," she whispered. "No. You knew exactly who I was," I said. "You just never thought I'd outrank you." She tried to pivot. "We can adjust the terms. Add incentive clauses. You'd have controlling shares." I cut her off. "This isn't about shares, Diane. This is about value." Click. I hung up. I looked at the photo on my desk. Me at 21, in an ill-fitting blazer, fetching her dry cleaning. She once told me, "Some girls are born to run errands. Don't be ashamed, just know your lane." Now I was writing the map, and I was erasing hers. By sundown, the media had the story. Not the one about a poor girl who made it. The one about a legacy firm being dismantled from the inside. By one of their own. I hadn't opened the family WhatsApp group in months. But that night it lit up like wildfire. Speech balloon, Uncle Ray. "Ava? Is everything okay? What's going on with Diane?" Speech balloon, Cousin Lena. "Wait, you're a CEO? Why didn't anyone tell me?" Speech balloon, Mom. "Ava's sweetheart, your aunt is very upset. Please call me." Speech balloon, Diane. "We don't air dirty laundry in front of strangers." I stared at that last message. Strangers? You dragged me in front of 50 relatives to humiliate me over job titles. And now I'm the one making you uncomfortable? I typed slow. Deliberate. Speech balloon me. You should have been more careful choosing which poor girl you mocked. Turns out, she signs the checks now. Left it on read. Close the app. Let them stew in the group chat silence. The next day, I arrived at the office early. Mia handed me coffee and an envelope. No name. Just said you'd know. Inside was a handwritten letter. Diane's handwriting. Wobbly. Unpolished. "Ava, I made a mistake. I was cruel to you because I saw something I didn't understand. And what I couldn't understand, I tried to diminish. If there's anything left to salvage, my name, my company, our family, please don't destroy it completely. Diane." There it was. Not an apology. A plea for mercy. But I didn't want to destroy her. That would have been easy. I wanted her to live in the shadow of what she tried to reduce. I wanted her to watch me thrive without needing to lift a single brick from her collapsing castle. So, I walked into the meeting that afternoon, contract in hand, freshly printed. She looked up. Hope flickered. I dropped the papers on the table. Revised terms, I said. Same equity offer. Except now, the company rebrands under my name. Diane opened her mouth, closed it.
Signed.
With trembling hands. Her empire now wore my initials. And the poor girl? She was building skyscrapers out of every insult. 2 days later, Forbes called. They wanted my story. We're doing a feature on underdog CEOs shaking up legacy corporations, the reporter said. We heard about the Whitaker takeover. People are calling it the quietest coup Wall Street's ever seen. I agreed. But on one condition. We meet at the same rooftop bar Diane once refused to let me into. She said it was members only, as if I couldn't afford the damn air. I wore a black suit. No jewelry. Just presence. The kind of presence that money can't buy and status can't fake. We talked for 2 hours. I told her about growing up in the shadows of powerful women who never saw me as competition. I told her about watching Diane rise through manipulation, exclusion, and legacy handshakes. And I told her how it all unraveled when one overlooked girl stopped taking notes and started writing chapters. The article dropped a week later. Title: The Secretary Who Became CEO, Ava Morgan's Rise from Clipboard to Boardroom Throne. It exploded. Every major business blog reposted it. LinkedIn turned into a shrine. Even companies that once ghosted my applications sent flowers. Diane didn't speak to me, but she read it. How do I know? Because at the very bottom of the article, under the About the Author, there was a quote I insisted they print. You called me a secretary, like it was a cage. But it was a key, and I learned how to pick locks. That quote made it to billboards. Even my old high school printed it in their alumni hallway. I got messages from women in every state, assistants, interns, girls bagging groceries, saying, "Thank you. We didn't know we were allowed to fight like this." I wrote back to every single one, because revenge is best served not just cold, but in a way that warms the world for the next girl. Thanksgiving came faster than I expected. Mom begged me to come. She's still your aunt, Ava. Be the bigger person. But I wasn't interested in being bigger. I already was. Still, I went. Same old dining room. Same overcooked turkey. Same crystal glasses that used to feel too fancy for me to touch. Diane was already seated when I walked in. She didn't look up, just stared into her wine glass like it might save her. I sat across from her. The room got quiet in waves. Uncle Ray tried to lighten the mood. So, business good, Ava? I smiled. Record-breaking, actually. Someone clapped. Cousin Lena muttered, "She's a legend at my office." Diane flinched. Mom passed the potatoes. No one said what they were all thinking.
So I did.
You all let her humiliate me last year. Not one of you spoke up. Forks froze midair. Now that I'm successful, you want pictures and praise. But where were you when I was still catching the bus at 6 a.m. with a laptop and a tote bag? Cousin Lena started to say something. I raised my hand. I don't need apologies. I needed allies. You failed. Then I turned to Diane. Do you still think I'm just a secretary? Her lips parted. No words came. Just the softest shake of her head. For once, she had nothing left to weaponize. I stood up, pulled a velvet envelope from my coat, and placed it beside her plate. What's this? She asked. An offer, I said. To buy out your remaining shares. You'll walk away clean. No disgrace. No scandal. But you'll never sit at another table I own again. The room went still. Diane looked around, hoping someone would protest. They didn't. She signed right there. No questions. No resistance. She knew. It was over. And when I walked out, I didn't look back. Because some doors are meant to be closed, especially when they used to be slammed in your face. 3 months passed. Diane disappeared from headlines. Whitaker Corp. Rebranded. Restructured. Revived. Under a new name, Morgan Strategies. Has a nice ring, doesn't it? At the launch gala, the ballroom shimmered with gold trim and quiet awe. Not one person asked about Diane. They asked about the girl who rose from behind the reception desk to own the skyline. Reporters crowded the floor. Flashbulbs. Champagne. Hands shaking mine like I was a monument. But that night, I didn't toast with the investors. I slipped out early. I drove alone, back to where it started. The rundown office where I once fetched coffee, stacked files, and cried in bathroom stalls.
It was boarded up now.
But I stood there, beneath the flickering streetlight, and whispered to my old self. They didn't see you.
But you saw you.
And that's why we made it. A black car pulled up. Mia stepped out holding a small box. What's this? I asked. She smiled. It arrived this morning. From an anonymous sender. You'll want to open it alone. I took it home. Inside, a silver pen.
Engraved.
To the secretary who rewrote her own ending. No name. Just that. I didn't need a signature. I knew who sent it. Diane never spoke to me again. She didn't have to. Her silence was the last act of surrender. The kind that only stings when it comes from someone who once roared. I framed the pen, hung it above my desk. And every time someone underestimates me, I look up at it. And I smile. Because I wasn't fueled by revenge. I was powered by memory. And I made sure the world would never forget my name again.